it from the top one more time, and don't make a mistake.
I looked it up on YouTube, and she was kind of scared, so I was like, oh, what's going to happen?
I'm impressed.
I'm impressed. This is dope.
We took in what she said, and we've done our best, and hopefully it pays off for us in the end.
Loving it. That's all I got to say.
You were scared last year. What's
it all
up with
together,
that?
right.
I was like,
So-
Woo, you're sweet.
you're sweet too now.
Come on.
This is Idol Insiders with your host, Bennett Shear.
This is Idol Insiders, and I'm very honored to bring you Peggi Blu. Hi, Peggy.
Hello, good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm excited and I'm honored to be speaking to you. And I want to say hello and thank you to all of your listeners for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, it's a great opportunity to meet you and for all of us. Having been a vocal coach on American Idol, you came from a unique perspective because you won a singing competition yourself. Star Search was a talent competition where they had comedians and dancers, but I just figured that was a good place to start. You really came a place of knowing what they were going through, right?
Yeah, but I've been around for way longer than even Star Search.
Yes.
But yeah, that was, and you know what? I never thought that I could even do Star Search because I had records before that. And I thought I was told, that and it was always broadcast that it had to be a newcomer, and I was far from a newcomer. You know, I had 4 gospel albums before that and an R&B on MCA. I didn't think I could do it. A lady was in my show, and she was one of the agents who booked Star Search, who happened to be in my show in New York. And at the end of my show, she said, I'm going to send your name into Star Search. And I laughed because I thought she was just kidding with me. And she said, no, you just got more standing ovations. And she just talked on and on and on. And I said, good for you. And thank you. If I can do it, I will. But Ed McMahon is not going to want me because I'm not a newcomer, you know.
Wow.
But he said yes.
I watched the performance you gave, and what a show you put on. I know people use this expression so much where they say, oh, I could listen to you sing all day, but literally I was going through all your discography and just a couple of songs, some of my favorites, When I Call You Mine, Feels Good to Me. And the
Feels
one
Good to Me is one of them that I wrote with Valentino.
Yeah.
For my album.
Mm-hmm. Love those.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I will say that one of my favorites that I genuinely was sitting right here and something came through me was God's Words. I was sitting here. I couldn't believe it in the best way because that song, God's Words, just came over me. And I mean that, like, it was, as a fan of music, somebody who's not really an expert, I seriously was touched by that song.
Wow, don't make me cry. Oh, that's a blessing to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Oh, can I tell you about one more?
I'm sorry.
Can I tell you about one more? You put out a song a few years ago called "You Brought Me Through."
Oh,
that
was my last, and we're working on another one now.
Oh, really?
Yes. He said to me 2 days ago, Mom, you know, he calls himself my son.
Uh-huh.
He is not, but he and my oldest son were mates together in school.
Uh-huh.
And they're still dear friends. And he said, Mom, don't think you're finished.
No.
Because you're going back in the studio. I'm like, don't nobody want to hear me. I'm too old now. And he said, Mom, we're going into the studio and we're going to do more. I was like, okay. I'll wait till you tell me. He wrote You Brought Me Through because of some of the things that I had been going through.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Mommy, you know that God can bring you through. And I said, I really wish he would. And get this off my back and all of that. And I mean, he knows my entire life because we've been friends, and he's been friends with my eldest son since they were small kids together.
Yeah.
When we first moved here from New York, you know, and he wrote that, and he said, I have something for you. And when he played it, I broke down and I said, you know, I love this.
Yeah.
And he said, we're going into the studio and we're going to do it, and I'm going to pick you up. You don't have to drive. And that was another blessing. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm going to tell you the truth. We had to keep stopping because I kept tearing up as I was singing the lyrics and listening to what the lyrics said. And we had to keep stopping it. And finally, I said, okay, I have to be a big girl and get through this. And it's all me doing the background as well. So I'm grateful.
You knew from the very beginning of your life that you wanted to do music. You were put on this earth to sing, right?
Oh, that's it. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. My grandmother and my mother always said to me, you came into the world singing. And I'm going to tell you what I was told as a child. And I have a cousin who knows about this. He's like 80, I think he's 88. And he was there. And he said, the doctor said to your mother, Avis, she hasn't turned and she's not ready to come out yet. And so you have a while. They told me that the doctor turned from my mother on the delivery table and turned and walked to the door, put his hand on the doorknob and said he was leaving. And I popped out in one piece. Not like most babies where the head comes first, then the shoulders, and then, no, they said you popped out in one piece, and my eyes were open, and I took a breath and said, ah. My grandmother said, oh, look, she's singing.
Wow.
I was like, that's all I could say. You mean I came out and sang, ah? And I went like, huh?
Literally from day one.
From the moment I came out. And so and that's why in my bio it says she came into the world singing.
Yes.
Because I did. And I turned professional at 3 by singing When the Roll is Called Up Yonder, I'll Be There, for the mayor of the town that I was born in. He had just won the mayorship. And they called, and my uncle said, the Mayor Pitkin wants you to sing. And my grandmother said, put people, so that everybody could see me. I was so short, at 3 years old. They said, put her up on the dining room table.
Oh my gosh.
But my uncle, who was a bishop, said, okay, we have to put somebody at each end of this table and on both sides, because she's going to jump off this table. If she sees somebody in the back of the house, she's going to want to go and sing to them. And she'll jump off the table and run in the back. And it happened.
Wow.
That's exactly what happened. Because I'm not a standstill kind of person. Not when I'm singing. I have to reach people. So I know it's crazy, but it's true.
The caliber of artists that you've worked with, and then your own solo career, you must have just learned so much from so many different people. Where do we start, right?
It's hard to think of people who I have not worked with.
Barbra Streisand.
Oh God, we did Vegas together with her, and I hired the singers to sing with her, and Bob Dylan, and Burt Bacharach. I mean, it's hard to say who haven't you sung with.
Michael Jackson.
Stephanie Mills. It's funny you should say that. Can you see this? It says Michael Jackson presents Peggi Blu and Sisterella.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe that. And as I was recording this, here's the crazy part. I'm in the studio recording this song, and all of a sudden, I see his finger that says, keep singing. And I go, okay, you're trying to get a good sound, and I will. And all of a sudden, he gets up and walks out of the studio. And I was like, oh my God, he hates me. I must suck. And I ran out behind him, and I said, Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry. And he turned to me and said, no, everything you did was perfect. I love it, and you're finished. We're
Wow.
going to put it out. And what I did in this, I sang it one time. And here it is, this album, I Got the Money. In Europe, singing, and I had the starring role in Sisterella. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Michael Jackson, are you kidding? No.
Let's go back again to the beginning, growing up in North Carolina and then knowing literally from day one, coming out of the womb singing. You know, you're 3 years old performing for the mayor and joining gospel choirs. What are some early lessons that you learned about show business as a little kid before you're maybe working with these celebrities, but you're starting off in the beginning?
I didn't think of it as show business. I thought of it because it was all gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of, and in the school choir, they gave me the solo section and the kids hated me.
Right.
And but it's okay. You think you can sing better than us? I'm like, no, I don't. What I learned was to be patient
Mm.
and to be respectful of others, and don't try to outdo anybody because you can't. You have to be who you are and let that be it. And if what my mommy, who was a vocal coach, taught me, let God speak through you. I don't care what you're singing. Because I used to get, oh my God, I just heard the record the other day. Mama, he treats your daughter mean.
Mm.
And that's from my childhood. And I used to put the radio under my pillow because I wasn't allowed to listen to blues or anything other than gospel growing up, not in my mother's household, but I was remembering when she finally committed to allowing me to know what it was I wanted to do with my life. She said, okay, you're allowed, and make sure you do the best thing you can do.
Mm.
And she would sit me down and say, sing this and do this with the lyric, and what is the meaning of this line in this song? Because everything, every word in a song has a meaning. So you have to pull that out, otherwise you fail. My mommy did all she could, and I'm grateful to her. Because now you want to hear a woman who could sing? My mommy, Avis Blue, woo! Oh, Lord. And my grandmother, everybody in my family, on my mother's side of the family, they're all singers. As a kid, my mother, the only sibling I had was one brother, 5 years older than me. And my mother started a group with me and my brother and her and my first cousin, Pat, who is still alive. And they named it the Bentonians. And if the Bentonians were coming to your church was packed.
Sold out show.
Yeah. And they would put us up mostly to sing right before the pastor preached on Sunday morning, or whenever they wanted. We would have concerts once in a while, but the best part was before the last thing you heard before the preacher took the pulpit was us, and it worked.
I love when you mentioned being taught to find the meaning in every lyric, because I think with every year that passes with streaming and the competitiveness in the music industry just to get your songs out there, there's a lot that people have to do to sort of figure out how to become popular that doesn't have to do as much with the lyric of a song anymore. So it's important to remember, I think, again, not being a music expert, but I would say that an artist should be really focusing on their lyrical content and what they're trying to say more than, of course, there's other things that matter, like their style and their image and who they are as an artist, but what are they saying so that a person can listen to that song and know, oh, these lyrics meant this. And I think there are a lot of singers today that are really good at that, but at the same time, there are some songs where you listen, maybe it's their diction's off and you can't really tell what they're saying, and
there's so many ad-libs and tricks and stuff that you go, stop that and tell me what the song is about.
Yeah. I'm curious, are there any artists today that you think are really good at that, where they have managed to sort of find the lyrical content and really nail that meaning?
I shouldn't say it, but I can't think of anyone at the moment. Any new artists, no. Because they're busy trying to out-riff each other. And nobody thinks of what they're singing about. That's where it starts. Paint the picture of the song. And a riff and a run only comes to get from one section to the next, in my opinion.
So I take it that when you're in the studio that lyrics come before melody. Does it change depending on the song?
It changes, but not to the point that it changes the song and the meaning of the song.
Because the meaning comes first.
Absolutely. Very first. You read what the lyric says and you go, oh, so this is what the song is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you learn the melody. And then after that, you learn, oh, then if I do this here and just pinch this lyric here, that will give somebody the idea of listening, really listening and seeing what it's worth.
Before we talk about American Idol and how you got involved with the show, you might think this is impossible to nail down to just a few choices, but are there any personal idols for you, or even just influences when it comes to your songwriting, vocal choices?
Burt Bacharach, because of the way the lyrics travel in the melody. He's one of those. And it's, and Stephanie Mills too. And when Bob Dylan asked me to sing for him, I was like, oh my God, I grew up with that. And it was a rocker. And I was like, you mean you want me to do rock and roll with you? And the answer is yes. And I would listen to the lyrics in his song and the melodies. And sometimes when Bob sings, you don't really get it, the melody, because he'll give you one note for the whole list. But when you really listen and get into what he's written and what the song is about, you can't do anything except fall in love with what you hear and make it work. And Luther Vandross, oh my God, he was a friend of mine. I met Luther when he was 15. I was on my way into a rehearsal in New York. At this time, I was a sand pebble, and he was friends with the producer. And I met him, and my son, Christopher, Luther would call up and say, bring Christopher, when he moved here, bring Christopher over, because he fell in love with my youngest son. And Christopher didn't have L's yet. He said, hi, Mr. Woodja.
That's great.
Oh my God. And he would sometimes bring me the phone and say, Mommy, call Mr. Woodja. I want to say hello. Oh God. And the day Luther, when we had that 9-point earthquake here.
Oh, wow.
I called to see how he was. And he was packing, he had a truck in front of his house. And he said, I'm packing to move back home. Are you coming with me? Pack those kids and come on, let's go back to New York. But I couldn't. But I miss him so much.
Oh.
God, I miss him.
You got to tell me a Bob Dylan story real quick.
Oh, Bob Dylan used to come to my house and I'd cook for him. And he would... I think he told me I'm the only person who ever cooked collards for him. He had never had them before. I was living at that time in New Jersey. I had just come off the road, and he was downstairs, and the security guard called up and said, there's a man down here, Miss Blue, says his name is Bob Dylan, and we don't know whether to let him up. And I was like, you don't know who that is? And I said, stop, and I will be right there. So I came down on the elevator and saw Bob and two of his musicians standing. And when I introduced him to the security guards, they both almost fainted.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh God. But yeah, he loves good food, and I'm a great cook.
I bet.
I'm good at it. My grandmommy taught me, and my father taught me. My mommy was not, that's not what she did.
Well, she could sing
My
her face
mommy,
off, so that's what
she
matters,
could
right?
sing, oh God, and she could conduct, and she could play the piano, and she could make you, she could sit down at a singer's sewing machine and make something that you would wear forever. But my father was the one who would go in the kitchen and baby, you wanted to eat. Even if you were not hungry, you wanted to eat.
What are your favorites from him?
I grew up right near the ocean, not the ocean, I'm sorry, the Lumber River, him and his friends. And a cousin of his, they would catch catfish and come back, and we had a place they had built on the side of the house where you cooked it outside. That is one of my favorites.
Mm.
I have it in my freezer as we speak.
This must be a tragedy. I've never had catfish.
You've never had catfish? Baby, it's the best. Put a little lemon on it, then put your salt and pepper, and put your cornmeal. That's how you fry it. You'll be happy.
You had made it fried and lemon and all that other stuff. Fry anything and it's going to be good, right?
Well, pretty much. But catfish needs to be fried. The steak doesn't need to be fried. That needs to be in the broiler. But catfish, Lord have mercy.
Have you ever had chicken fried steak?
No, I haven't.
It's the breading of chicken tenders over steak.
I've not had that, as I can remember. I don't know. I've eaten pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Because I've traveled around the world, so I've eaten food that I can't even speak the name, but I ate it, and it was delicious.
That has to be not the most important, but one of the most fun parts of life. On the road, you're going to all these places. You want to try the different food spots around, right? All the local spots.
It is an absolute blast and a blessing and a gift because, I mean, you wouldn't get it otherwise.
Right.
And I'm just glad that my career and my life has taken me to places that I probably would never, ever have been able to go and eat the food.
Yeah. Well, I mean, seriously, after a long day or a long night or whatever, you work up an appetite.
Definitely.
All the places you've been, are there any that are particularly beautiful or the people really touched you? Certain countries or states that really stick out to you?
Germany.
Really? How
Germany,
come?
yes. Oh, because they're kind and they're generous and they're grateful and gracious. And they treat you like, well, they treated us like we were really, real human. And they didn't, I mean, they were awesome. And I love them. I've been to Germany a lot working there, and I love it. And I love France, I have to say, and Italy. Oh, baby.
I was going to ask about that. The pasta, the pizza.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Bringing it back to America. So tell me how you got the gig on American Idol.
A friend of mine said, they need you. And I was like, what do you mean they need me?
Of course they need you. You're Peggi Blu.
Yeah, he said that, and he was one of the coaches there. And he said, I'm going to give them your name and ask them to give you a call and have a meeting with you. And I was like, okay, but they're not going to hire me. Baby, the meeting was a few minutes. And they turned to me and said, when can you start? And I was like, when can I start? And the next week I did it. I did that for 2 years. And the third year I couldn't go back because I was in New York working on my show. But it was a wonderful time. And you know, you hear and you see American Idol's local coach from hell. That's not what they called me. That's what the reporter added from hell. That's not. And every time I see it, I go, why would he say that? You know, because I was stern with them and they liked it. And the kids, I had 2 winners. And he, you know, and they would do what I would ask them to do. And they would stand and breathe like I'd ask them to do it so they could carry the songs and carry the moment. And we had a wonderful time. But the reporter added from hell because he heard me tell one of the singers, stop singing and start over. And when she stopped and started over, she kicked it. She kicked it. Yeah. So, but they can call me what they want. I can't do anything about what somebody else thinks. I can't do anything about that.
What matters is the impact you left and how you helped them, because it's television, and I think they're gonna edit it however, the reporters are gonna take it however, but at the end of the day, I mean, so much of the work that people behind the scenes do they only show a little fraction of it. We probably didn't see most of the contestants you worked with. I think, in fact, I remember a lot of the reports in your first season were about this one pair. It was Thea Magia and Melinda Adedemi. I think I'm saying her name right. And there was a lot of buzz about that, but you probably were working with so many others we didn't see, and you're there for hours, and it's all gets edited down to this 5-minute segment. So we're not really getting into the nitty gritty. I mean, there's other vocal coaches. So I think that's also important to remember from the perspective of a viewer, is that they're not getting the full picture. And, even if it is a 5-minute segment, for them to use that phrase, they're not seeing what really goes into your job and the fact that you really care about them. And there's a difference between being mean and being passionate. And honesty is not mean. Honesty is helpful. Honesty is caring. People said Simon Cowell was mean. Maybe he actually just cared and wanted to help them and not show up for a paycheck, wanted to show up and make a difference on them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree. You can't get the best out of somebody by milking them. You have to turn them around and let them know and show them what is best for them. If you want to be in this business, you have to be strong, and you have to be ready to take no, do it again. I was, and I still am. I'm not over the hump. If I'm singing something that somebody doesn't like, tell me no, do it again. And I will, because I want to please you. If I can win, I want to. And if I can get you to be the winner, I'm willing to do everything I can. So I think that's important.
Talk about them cutting it down to 5 minutes. It's about putting in more work than we'll ever see on TV, rehearsing, getting it right, not just getting it right, but perfecting it.
Right.
To the point where you can do it in your sleep.
There you go. I agree with you.
You did coach winners. I remember the clip of you. You remember Philip Phillips?
Yes, he was my baby, and he's doing well. He's my angel.
Yeah.
Phil Phillips. He is my angel. And I liked Thea Magia. I thought she was a wonderful singer who just needed to get acquainted better with her song and with her talent. But I love the people who take the initiative to come and do that show.
Yeah. They're young kids too. I mean, you got to remember that there's a lot of pressure put on them, especially now with social media. We talked on the phone about this, and 10 years ago, it was not even the same as it is today. But even back then, you had 30 million people watching a 15-year-old and watching their every move. At that age, they can't know everything. The fact that they're willing to come and learn, and somebody like Thea, who if I remember correctly, was actually the youngest in the competition at the time. So to think that of all the contestants, she stood out to you as somebody who was willing to learn is pretty amazing.
That's called bravery, to be that young and be a show like that. You talking about brave? Yes. You take her under your arm and you guide her through as much as you can. And all of them, you do the best you can do and have them do the best they can. And you're not allowed to feel sorry for yourself if you're not the winner. Keep trying, because next year comes back.
A lot of people, especially that second season when Philip Phillips won, there's something in the air where a lot of people went on American Idol that year, didn't even make the top 24 where people can start voting, and then went on to be superstars years later.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
I know I used the phrase show business earlier, but I did hear you in an interview mention that you refer to it as the business of show. Can you break that down for me?
Oh, because it's a business. You have to do the business first. It's not show business. It is the business of show. You have to take care of business before you do anything else. That's what I was taught. And that's the way life goes. You take care of your business, and then you can do everything else that's necessary. But yeah, it is the business of show. You think about what your song is about first, and then you think about how to go through it and make it matter. Then you figure out what you're going to wear. Don't walk on stage looking like you're an entertainer. Don't you dare walk on stage looking like you're getting ready to go to the grocery store. Don't you dare. It's what I think. But nowadays, I see people on stage and I go, you obviously don't have a mirror in your house. And if you did, you didn't look. Because if you looked, you wouldn't come out looking like that. Not on a stage. Oh my God. It's heart-wrenching.
Any other tips for an aspiring singer who hasn't figured out how to break into the music industry?
The industry is such a different one today. And I would just like to say to all the singers and dancers and musicians, everybody who is in the industry, please remember what it is you're doing, and please the people who will pay to come see you. It doesn't matter whether you think you sound good. If they think you sound good and they want to pay that money to come and see you and stand up and applaud, do it and make them happy. And if you make them happy, you'll be happy. And put some clothes on when you walk on that stage. Dress your behind up and put some decent shoes. Don't you walk on stage, man, in no suit with some sneakers. There's a thing called shoes.
Nice shoes.
Not sneakers. You go running in sneakers. But on stage, you put some shoes on and socks. And women too. It's my opinion. That's all.
I really wish I could have been a fly on the wall when they were taping your seasons of Idol, because to be able to hear even more of the advice than we got to see on the show would have been such a pleasure. And that must have been a treat for Philip and Thea. And did you work with, I think Scotty McCreery was the other winner who...
Yes, I did.
Any memories from that?
Except that he was fierce, which is why he got that victory.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Yes. And he listened. And that's why he won.
The fact that you were a contestant, did it feel natural coaching and having cameras around you and being part of a TV show, or was it kind of different doing what you do with cameras and being a vocal coach for a show like Idol?
No, it was not different. It was, because when you're on stage performing, you have cameras.
Right.
But you know that the cameras, when you're on a show helping somebody else, you know that the cameras are not there for you. They're there for the people. So you make sure that they adjust and understand that these cameras are here and they're not just here for no reason. They're here to grab you. So give them something to grab on. Give them a reason.
And you worked with some other great people. I think Michael Orland, Deborah Bird. There were some other really great.
Oh,
right?
Michael Orland. Oh my God, I love him so much.
He's great.
And Bird, that's my baby girl. We did theater together, me and Bird. Yeah, I'm from a long line of a lot of stuff because you have to make a living. And I went to school to be a nurse, and I became one. And I used to sing to my patients, and they would get well.
Wow.
I'm glad about that. Then I started working on Broadway. I did Broadway shows and off-Broadway, and so it's all been a blessing. This life has been a really wonderful blessing for me, and a lot of people like me. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to join in with a lot of people, and we became friends, and we still are. Those who are still alive. We're still friends.
When you're working in entertainment, there's some things that apply to all the different sectors, but being on stage, a Broadway performance, anything in particular from there that you've learned and taken with you?
It's the same thing I said before. Aim what you're doing at the audience. Aim it. Reach them. so you can touch them. When I was on Broadway doing The Wiz, I was Auntie M. And well, the national company, I was Auntie M and Glenda. So no matter how many people you had to sing to, when you sang "Put Your Arms Around Me, Child" to Dorothy, there was a reason for you to do that. You were having her gravitate toward you as her angel. Broadway is honey, if you can do that, you can do you are a masterpiece. When I went to The Wiz, I wasn't there to audition. I never auditioned I didn't go to audition. I went and took one of my vocal students. Her name was Mimi Lucadio. And I had been given her, she was training for oh God, what is it? The evil one. And the day that she was supposed to go to do the audition, she called me up. I can't go. I said, why? I'm afraid. And I was like, there's nothing for you to be afraid of. She was going to play Eveline. And she said, I can only go if you go with me. And I was like, Nina, they don't allow people to come in the studio, in the theater. And I thought, you know what? Yes, I will come with you and I'll stay in the back. Darling, that was so funny because they let me in. Turns out that the security guard had just been to my show on Saturday night. This was on Monday. And he had just been in my show at Sweet Boys on Saturday night. And when Mimi sang, he walked out on stage and said to them, you'll never believe who I got back here. I was behind the curtain. I thought I was, hiding. And when he said my name, honey, they said, push her out onto the stage. And he came and grabbed my hand and literally pulled me onto the stage.
Wow.
And Linda Twine pushed the chart in my hand and said, here, sing this. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't come to audition. And they got up and started walking toward the front. They were in the back of the theater. And and said, I want you to go to LA to sing, to be a part of The Wiz. And I was like, you want me to go where, what? And that's how I got hired. Nene didn't get it. She never got Eveline. But I got the roles of Auntie M and Glenda.
Isn't that the perfect example of when preparation meets opportunity and sort of always being ready? Because you didn't expect something like that to happen, but they just pushed you on stage and you were ready. Because you had the talent.
That.
Yeah.
I never expected that. It wasn't an audition until Linda Twine said, sing this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Sing it. And I sang it and got the role. I'm telling you, it's when God has a blessing for you, no one can block it. Well, they can block it, but they can't stop it.
They can try. They won't succeed.
Yes. And so that was wonderful for me. And then when we finished doing it on the road and I was going on my way back to New York, they said to me, Stephanie Mills wants you to come and be Auntie M on Broadway. And I was like, what are you talking about? And that's how that happened. That was another fabulous moment for me.
You've had all kinds of funny encounters with security guards, first with Bob Dylan and now with the Broadway story. But
yes,
I feel like every time a security guard shows up, it's about to be a blessing, right?
That was fabulous. Baby, when he said that to me, there's a man down here calling himself Bob Dylan, says he wants to come up. But baby, when I introduced him, I thought they were going to pass out. Everybody was laughing so hard.
I can't help but want to just squeeze out any last piece of wisdom that you can give. We've touched on Broadway. We've touched on people maybe that want to be on the charts. Maybe they want to be on American Idol. I know the show's changed a lot since you were there.
Different, completely different.
What do you think about that?
I think it's not so good. I don't watch it anymore. Because it's boring to me.
Would you go back?
No,
Would you add your Peggi Blu infusion if they said, "Hey, we want you to come on and be a judge or be a vocal coach"?
I might have to think about that for a while. I don't know, because they don't have talent on that show like I'm used to, and they don't have the talent on that show that's needed to bring a lot of people together. When you're going on a show like that, you want to bring a nation together. Okay, you don't do it for somebody just, well, oh, this is just LA. No, you want to reach people around the absolute universe, not the world, the entire universe. So what I would say to anybody who wants to be a part of that, study to show yourself approved. Do what it takes. Work as hard as it is needed to be. And remember, do your vocal exercises. Don't just walk on stage and stay hydrated. Keep your throat. There's a certain thing you have to do, and not wine, water. It's called water because it keeps you open. And if somebody comes to you and says, maybe you should try this, that, or the other, try it. And if it doesn't work, at least you tried. Because that gives you something to move forward to. You tried that and it didn't work. Oh, maybe I should try this way, because that might work. You know, my opinion, again, no matter where you sing, make sure you want to reach somebody and touch somebody. Touch their heart and their soul. Otherwise, you've not done your job. And that's a fact.
You told me earlier that you think that maybe there's a lack. I mean, we were speaking about the lyrics and how maybe not enough artists are writing for the meaning and they're just kind of putting a song together, right? So what you're just saying right there, musicians need to listen up. They really need to take that, because if we want to have another Michael Jackson, if we want to have another Bob Dylan, would you say we're missing that?
Absolutely. Yes, we are. We're missing it desperately. Those are people who touched people and reached people around the world and around the universe.
Is there anything else that would be required of somebody, in your opinion, to reach that status?
Just work at it. Just do the work. Put the work in. And the work starts with you as the person. It's like you can't write the word cat if you don't know how to spell it. If you don't know how to spell the word, how can you write it? So if you don't know what the song means, how can you sing it? Unless you study. So learn and portray.
What is it that separated a few of those names we mentioned? Was it just a certain thing you can't explain, that star power, X factor, it factor? Or is it describable?
What do you mean?
What separates Michael and Barbra, that kind of gives them something that we don't have today?
Oh, the ability to make everybody feel comfortable and make people feel as one. You're not separated. When Streisand sings, she paints the picture. So did Michael. Michael just did it differently because he was younger and he reached the children dancing. But he also, not only did he reach you dancing, he made you listen to the lyric while you were dancing. Streisand, if all you wanted to do was stand flat-footed and sing and make people listen, she's the one to listen to. And Burt Bacharach hired people like Dionne Warwick and me, because I sang for him too. But there's a certain thing that you have to be willing and able and learn how to do in order to reach the masses. And that's what you want to do. You want to reach the masses. You don't want to just be someone who sings in LA. If they wanted to hire you to come sing in New York, figure that out. You want to go to Chicago, figure that out. You want to go to Germany and Paris and England and wherever. Figure that out and find out what they love to hear and what they love to listen to, and add you to that and give them what they want. Feed them. Feed them.
Feed them. You fed us so many amazing stories and so much amazing advice again that I can't thank you for enough. So it means the world that you took the time to be on this podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. And to your audience, thank you. Blessings to you. I love you. To the singers who are out there, do your work, do your job, and do it well. Do it beyond well, because well is not enough. And as far as my students, I still have, so as a matter of fact, one of my students just sent me a song that because it's in the studio, and he wants me to arrange and sing the background vocals on this album for him. So I'm looking to do that. You know, it's just nice to be wanted.
Yes.
And when you wanted, you can give that to somebody, and it helps you pay. I call it paying it forward. You don't give back, you pay forward. Because when you do that, that just opens a door for you too. That's what I was taught as a child. You pay it forward. And when somebody needs you, say yes. And if you can't do what they need, learn what they want and adapt, adjust to it. And don't come back and say, well, if I were going to sing it, but you're not singing it for you, you're singing it for this other person. So give them what they want and make them happy. And if you make them happy, you'll be happy.
No. Do you mind if I play one of your songs as a closing?
I don't mind. Choose whichever one you want.
Peggi Blu, everybody.
I love you.
I love you.
Want to talk to you a little bit about what God can do. If you open up and allow him to come in, he'll fix it for you. So listen.